And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back Doctor in Real Life and thriller author by night, Dr. Doug Lyle, aka DP Lyle. Here to give us the inside scoop on his brand new book, Tunica. Doug, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you bringing me back. We had so much fun last time. Um,
Yay.
yeah, Tunica is the fourth in my Kane Harper thriller series.
Uh-huh.
And in this one, a young couple is being chased by bad guys because they witnessed a murder
Uh-huh.
and they did the right thing. They testified before the grand jury, and now one of the two nasty brothers that own a casino in Tunica, which is like
Uh-huh.
the gambling center of Mississippi on the river there, up in the north part of the state. And so one of the brothers goes to jail, and the other one sends his minions after them, even though they're in the witness protection program. He seems to keep penetrating that wall and chasing them. So Kane and Harper are my fixers, if you will, and they come into the fray, and it really becomes a convoluted story with transnational bad guys and all kinds of stuff.
Transnational bad guys and all kinds of stuff are some of our favorite things.
Exactly.
We are so excited to chat with you again, Dr. Lyle, and to give everybody a chance to ask you some questions. So first, I just want to welcome everyone because we are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So hey, mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, this is the right place, this is the right time, and it is Mystery Monday because Monday is going to be murder. We are going to get your week off to a killer start and make it as painless as possible. If you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors. You get to ask them anything. So ask Dr. Lyle about his killer career as a thriller author. Ask him about that real life medical practice. Ask him anything you want about this series, any of his other books. Doug was with us before for his Jake Longley book, Unbalanced. So whatever's pressing on your mind, just get those questions going in the comments. We'll get them right over to him. Randy joining us from YouTube. Welcome to the conversation with his very on brand Black Cat. It is spooky season and Randy's on brand. Thank you, Randy. He says, Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday to you, Randy. Okay, so Doug, let's jump right in. So this is book 4.
Right.
Are you planning to write 40 more? Is this the fourth and final? Where are we
No,
in the series?
no, I just published it when we were together a month ago, the seventh in my Jake Longley series. This is the fourth in
Uh-huh.
this, and I'm working on the next Jake book now, and then I'll work on the next Kane Harper book because I like these two series.
Mm-hmm.
One's funny and light. The Jake series, or he's an idiot, and they're funny, and Kane and Harper are very serious people who will kill you dead, and so they're two entirely different characters and stories, and so whenever I have a story, I just say, which series does it fit best with when something comes to mind? And then just start, I don't outline. I just sit down and start writing, see what happens. So, like
Do
this book started with a single scene, like most of my books are. I have a single scene,
Ooh,
and
tell
I
us
just
what
write
what
that
it's doing.
scene. The scene is this young couple sitting in a cafe in
Uh-huh.
downtown Nashville, and it opens with him saying, "Don't react." And she said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Don't react. I'm going to tell you something." She starts, he said, "Don't look around." And he says, "They're here."
And
And
that
she says, "No way." She said, "They're here." It's the third time they found them, even though they're in witness protection. And so now they're trapped at a cafe downtown Nashville with the two killers across the street. And he happened to see them. And that starts the story.
Now, Doug, walk us through the moment of inception. Where were you and what were you doing when that scene came to you? Were
Oh,
you
who knows?
downtown in a cafe? Walk us through the moment.
No, no, it was just I wanted to do something about people in witness protection that were being. I was kind of thinking about that would be kind of a fun field to talk about. And I said, okay, if you're gonna write a story that's kind of about that, where would you start? Well, let's just have a young couple in jeopardy because that's who Kane and Harper are going to come help. Well, where would they be? Oh, well, they're just doing normal daily stuff, even though they're on the run still, so to speak. And then I thought, okay, well, oh, what if it's the third time that they've been tracked down? What if they every time they think they're safe, they're not? And so we learn all that through backstory as the story goes along. But it's like, well, what is going on here, and who do we trust?
Right.
Who do
Who
we
do we
trust?
I've often thought what it would be like to live in witness protection because it would be such a nightmare. You can't see your friends, you can't see your family, you
No.
can't have your Facebook account, your Instagram, which would be a great loss to me.
Well, I talk about that in the book actually, because it is not like what it is on TV and in movies,
No.
where they go and live in a mansion somewhere. Oh, no, 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 no. You can be a doctor, lawyer, or Indian chief in your real life, but once you go into witness protection, you're sacking groceries in a grocery store, and you can't utilize your old skills. You can't go back to your old job. You can't be a banker because people are vetted. You can't be a doctor or a lawyer because you don't have a license anymore. You can't do any of that stuff. You become basically a regular person trying to hide in a regular neighborhood, living in a regular house. So
Right.
it's yeah, and looking over your shoulder all the time.
Because you can't even have the same hobbies you have. If you
No,
were a pianist or,
right.
a chess player or, something that,
Or if you were very active in your church, you would have to be careful about that.
right.
Anything in your life you'd have to be careful about, because
Yeah.
it could be, it depends on obviously the skill and sophistication of the people who are after you. If
Yeah.
they're just some moron, who has a gun, that's one thing. But if it's somebody of substance with money, power, and minions,
Mm.
different animal, because then they would look through all this stuff, because it's the high stakes force them to do what's necessary. It's a scary situation, especially when it falls apart a couple of times and you're like, my God, what do we do about this?
Exactly. Margaret's joining us from Facebook. Hi, Margaret. She wants to know, Doug, did the scene come to you, or did you overhear something and then add to it a little? Tell us more about this.
It just kind of came to me. Everything kind of comes to me. I try to avoid people as much as possible, so I have to do it inside my head. um, it's yeah, I get ideas like that all the time, and they'll come and go and bounce around a little, and then after a month or so of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 ideas jumping around, I say, I like this one, and I have an idea for a scene. Let's just sit down and write it and see if it goes anywhere. That's kind of what I do. I don't outline. I don't plan ahead. I don't know who the bad guys are. I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know.
Mm,
Yeah.
Margaret, thank you so much for the question. Doug, thank you for the answer. Margaret adds, yeah, yuck. She says, changing everything about your life never occurred to me this strongly. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's,
scary. It's scary because literally all the people you grew up with, all your old high school classmates, your siblings, your parents,
yeah, never
your
something like
business
that.
associates, the people you had coffee with, last week, they
Yeah,
disappear, and they disappear completely and instantly. And
yeah.
if you contact them, you do it at your own risk.
Yeah. I interviewed someone in witness protection, and it just made me realize how very lonely and
Mhm.
isolating
Yep.
that would be, and how painful that would be. Everything, because I think so much,
Yeah.
is
Well, you
about,
not only have to start all over,
yeah,
you can't have a history.
no.
You can't have a
And that
real history.
history,
It's got to
right.
be a made up history. And you have to be very careful about talking about things like you would normally do in a bar or having coffee or at a cocktail, somebody's house for dinner, or just meeting with friends or playing tennis, whatever. You chat about things. You have to be very careful about what you chat about. Go, I remember we were in Charleston. No, I didn't mean Charleston. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You can't do that. And so you're on point all the time. You can't have a history.
It would be so hard.
Yes.
John is joining us from Northeast Ohio. Hi, John. Good to have you with us as always. Thanks so much for tuning in. So, Doug, your day job, your past life is as a doctor, now recently retired. As we talked about a little bit as you were with
Yeah.
us last time. Presumably, you've never had to go into witness protection. What was your research process like into witness protection living?
A little bit. I read a few things about it and then talked to a couple of people, but mainly you get stuff online and you kind of know you know what it is. You know exactly what it is. The U.S. Marshal Service runs it, and it's a very tight, very well run program. And so I always feel bad about having to have a crack in programs like that because I like them, trust them, and all that. But I had to for this book, so there has to be a flaw that is being exploited, and that's how they're finding these people. And I won't say any more about it than that. But there is a plausible way that it does happen. Um, but yeah, and so basically it's common sense. And I learned a little bit about where it was in the governmental structure, who was in
Mhm.
charge, what it was under, what it was under, what kind of agents they had, what they did, et cetera, et cetera. And so, of
Uh-huh.
course, then they had to have a handler, and he's obviously saying, "Oh, relax, everything's going to be okay." Well, they're saying, "Well, we don't trust you anymore." And the whole dynamics going on. So, yeah,
Yeah, right. A
and
lot.
that's why we called in these people.
Right. That's when you need the name of a good fixer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, Lee Child deems has a few words of praise to share. So he says that it is absolutely terrific, truly sinister, scary, and suspenseful. Lyle never lets you down. That is from Lee Child, who is, of course, the number one New York Times bestselling author of the Jack Reacher series. So, Doug,
I paid him to say that, so
how much did he charge you?
a buck.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good deal.
yeah,
That's a good deal.
yeah,
And he needs that. That's his
yeah. He
coffee.
needs that,
That's his
like, yeah,
coffee money
exactly,
for the week.
exactly.
Now, Doug, what have you learned over the course of your career? Um, you- to what is the secret, do you think, to writing, as Lee Child says, truly sinister, scary, and suspenseful stories?
Um, get out of your own way.
And what do
You
you mean by
know, when I first started out, I read 100 books on writing, and I attended a lot of conferences and stuff. And I tried to think, well, every word, every sentence, everything has to be perfect, and so you grind over everything, which is what Hemingway did. Probably why he killed himself. But uh, and you got to understand that every story's already been told, but it hadn't been told by you. So get out of the way and just tell the story the way you want to tell it. And I found outlining painful and stressful, and then I never followed it anyway. So I gave that up, 10 books ago, and just said, just take a scene. Let's start writing and see what happens. And it's so much more fun because you really don't know what's going to happen next. You may have two or three sequences in mind, but after that, it's an abyss. You don't know what's beyond that. So you start writing those scenes, and other scenes appear, and other things appear, and other things appear, because it follows now a more logical thing where when you're sitting down trying to hammer out an outline, you're considering a bunch of options and a bunch of stuff, and you kind of mold it and put a framework around it. Now you're trapped in it. Not that you can't change it, but mentally you focus so much on getting this backbone done. Well, who cares? Just start writing and see what happens. You'll be amazed.
What do so when Jeff Deaver came on, he shared that he
Yes.
is a
180-degree opposite.
he's 180-degree
180-degree opposite. Yes.
with outlines that run up to actually
Yes.
180 pages. He spends
Yes. Yes.
6
We
months.
were talking about that recently, and he is an inveterate outliner.
He's an
And
inveterate outliner. He
yeah,
spends 6 months in a blacked out room, blindfolded,
yeah,
writing his outline, typing
yeah,
tactile, and then he comes out of of his outlining process 6 months and 180 pages later, and he says because he has the blueprint, it just flows. He can't
exactly.
imagine not
Yeah,
having an outline. Now, Lee Goldberg says he can tell without being told which books have been outlined, which books have been
maybe.
pants. What do you say about that?
I think maybe, maybe not. If you can have a feel for it. I know Lee has told me once that what he will do is he has an idea for a story. He'll write the screenplay
Ooh,
because he can do a
interesting.
screenplay in a weekend. I mean, he came from television. And screenplays, if you know how to write them, are very fast. You can do it because you're not. He's obviously writing this screenplay not to make it production worthy. He's trying to tell himself a story. And so he'll write the screenplay, and the screenplay serves as his outline. And I think that's great. That's fantastic. It would take me too long to write a screenplay because I don't have the mechanics of it down like he does. I don't know. I just find it more fun. And like I said, if you talk to writers in writers conferences, there's pastors and there's outliners and everywhere in between, and whatever works. But I know a lot of writers that are struggling to get things done, and I always tell them, don't sweat the small stuff. Just tell the story. Get out of the way. Don't worry about what's going to happen next. It will appear. Somebody once said, well, I was asked a question, said, isn't that like doing a high wire act without a net? And they said, yes, but just take the jump. The net will appear. And that's writing by the seat of your pants. The net will appear.
That's stepping out on faith. Well, this is resonating with at least one of our viewers. Margaret saying, thank you, Doug. I have a work in process that is stalled.
Yeah.
So I should just check in with my characters and get out of their way, if not my own.
Mm-hmm. Stephen King had a great quote about this where he said something about, I can't really quote it, but it was something to the effect that he listens to his characters and the setting, and they kind of tell him where to go, and he had to understand that he's just a secretary. He's not God.
Ooh.
And I think that's a brilliant way of putting that. The story will tell you where it's going to go. The characters will tell you where it's going to go.
So this is my favorite conversation, because if I was interviewing Stephen King and he said he's just the secretary, I would say, whose secretary are you? Where is that
exactly
coming from?
Exactly. Could be pretty scary.
I'm interested. This is the stuff that fascinates me. I am here for this conversation. So this is book 4 in the Kane Harper series, and it is coming out tomorrow. Dr. Lyle is coming on to give us the inside scoop on the book, and to take all of our pressing questions. So you can get the book from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book, as well as all of Doug's books. So here is the link to Doug's backlist and current list, and you can get your mitts on all of Doug Lyle's books. So we're talking the Kane and Harper series. We're talking the Jake Longley series. We are talking more forensics and fiction, crime writers, morbidly curious questions expertly answered. We've got Doug's forensics books. All of them are here. So click the link and you can get your mitts on all of these. Robin, welcome to the conversation. She says she is so confused on where people are watching from. Robin, I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Our goal here is to make these interviews as accessible to everyone, everywhere as we can. Now, some people love Facebook and some people hate Facebook. So I stream these to both Facebook and YouTube, so that the people who aren't on Facebook and who are opposed to Facebook can still get to be part of the conversation with us over on YouTube. And people who love Facebook or are in our followers of Murder by the Book, or me, Sara DiVello, or Doug. Doug is streaming to his page as well. Maybe you're in Mystery and Thriller Mavens' Facebook group, a private group. Maybe you're in Bitchy Book Wars. We are broadcasting to 7 different destinations. So wherever you're seeing this from, you're in the right place. We have 7 different options, something for everyone, so that everyone can be part of the conversation. That's our goal here, to be inclusive and accessible to all. Now, Doug, let's talk about your forensic. Let me know if that answers your question, Robin. Doug, let's talk about this forensic stuff. So you are a cardiologist, is that correct?
Yeah, I was till I retired. Yes.
So Doug, last seen with a scalpel and a stethoscope, a thriller writer by night and a doctor by day. And then tell us about how you got interested in the forensic stuff, and tell us about that.
Well, I mean, as a physician, if you go to a cocktail party, people want to talk about their gallbladder and their cholesterol, and they'll corner you. But if you go to a writer's conference, they want to know about gunshot wounds and poisons and what dead bodies look like and all that kind of stuff. So I started, talking to people like that. And then I started writing some articles about, time of death and cause of death and manner of death, stuff like this that were of interest to crime writers. And, but as far as learning the science of forensic science. It was baked in the cake. I mean, I have a degree in chemistry and biology and medicine and internal medicine and cardio. So science is like my second language. And forensic science is basically medical science. It's just that you twist it and look at it through the lens of the law. That's all. So we would call it pharmacology in the hospital. They call it toxicology. You know, uh, we would call it a clinical autopsy where they're doing how to determine the cause of death or diseases or whatever, whereas a forensic is to determine time of death, cause of death, and manner of death. So there, but the science is the same. It's the same body. It's the same scalpel. It's the same guy doing the thing. It's just how you look at it. So the science I knew. So learning the science of forensic science. Now, could I go and practice this and do it? No, because I don't go into crime labs and do tests and stuff, and I don't go out and look at homicide scenes. I have no experience in that. But I think that's not what people come to me to ask. They want to know how the science works and what it looks like and smells like and how it impacts their story. And
Yes.
and that's when I write for like Forensics for Dummies, it's all about that. And then How Done It Forensics, which is much bigger, and it has a lot of history in it about how we got where we are. And but it's all about the forensic science. And it's it comes into play in some way in almost every criminal investigation.
Exactly.
Rarely DNA. Probably
Exactly.
1% of cases involve DNA, but everybody wants to know about DNA. But there's so many other things that go on out there in the forensic world that's unbelievable. So
Yeah. Exactly. Renee, welcome to the conversation. Joining us from Facebook. Look at that little cutie saying, Dr. Lyle, do you know anyone that is or might be in the witness protection program? Oh, good question, Renee.
no, actually, I don't. And if I do, I don't know that they're in the witness protection program, which is smart on their
Which
part.
is smart on their part. But have you ever met someone where you thought that, they're a little light on the details, or how come I never met any of their friends or family, or
Yeah.
someone comes
Uh,
into your
no,
office and
I've never had that suspicion, but that
just
doesn't mean that I haven't run across somebody in witness protection.
you know what, Doug? This is actually an interesting question because after I wrote my book and I went to visit, because my book is a true story, and I went to visit the scene of the crime many, many, many times. And all these people would be walking back and forth outside,
Hmm.
on 57th Street in New York. And I would think they have no idea that someone was murdered here. And then it made me wonder how many times I'm walking down the street, walking past murder scenes, walking past crime scenes. And now I'm wondering how many times in my life, Renee, how many times in
Hmm.
your life have you walked past someone in witness protection and had no idea?
So I would look at it this way.
Oh, tell
All
us.
those people walking by on 57th Street and you thinking they don't have any idea about a murder happened there. Maybe one of them did because they did it.
Ooh, yes. Ooh,
That's
okay.
the way crime writers think. See?
Okay, okay. Well, the odds are, what was interesting, Doug, is at Thriller Fest this year, I was doing interviews in my interrogation room, and 5 people told me that they had dated a murderer or had been taught. One had been taught scuba diving by a guy who was later convicted of homicide. Someone else had crossed paths. I'll have to go back and rewatch. But I was like, this is a high hit rate. And then it made me wonder how many times have I crossed paths with a murderer? The statistics are saying we must have crossed paths with murderers, and we must have crossed paths with people in the witness protection
Oh,
program. It's
sure.
just very
I
interesting.
worked for a guy. When you're in training, you do a lot of moonlighting, which means you work in emergency rooms at night, even though you all day long you're in the hospital doing your training as residents and fellows and stuff. So I worked for this group, and the guy that led the group actually hired a hitman, had his wife killed. Yeah.
Wait, your coworker did, Doug?
He was the head of this group, this ER group, and they would hire house staff, we call them, interns, residents, fellows to man the ERs at night, and we'd go. That's how you made money because they didn't pay you to be a resident or a fellow. They paid you a little bit, but not enough. So you do extra jobs. I did that my whole career. Everybody did. Every doctor I know did that. You'd work 10 nights a month besides the 10 nights you're on
Moonlighting,
call,
sure,
moonlighting in emergency rooms.
in the
So
ER. I have
Yeah.
a friend who
So
still does that.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And so,
That's
but
how he's
the
putting his
guy who
4
ran
kids
the
through
program
college.
hired a guy and assassinated his wife with a sniper rifle.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Doug, that's
Hey, it
crazy.
was Houston, Texas. What do you expect?
Well, I just saw, one of those Florida man stories
Yeah,
about a woman doctor in Florida who gave her husband an intentionally botched vasectomy so that he would impregnate his mistress, and then he sued her, and she did no time. She got off, and I was like,
that's
that's one of those Florida woman stories.
that is unbelievable. Well, this one, the wife that got shot, it was broad daylight on a in a very busy street.
Oh my
And a car
God!
just pulled up, and the guy stepped out with a rifle, put it on top of the car, shot her in the head from about 100 yards away, got in the car and drove away. Now,
Oh my God!
witnesses, got enough information that these people were tracked down very quickly, and then the whole case fell apart right there. His whole
Oh,
plan evaporated.
oh my God!
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is crazy. Renee saying lots of Florida people are probably in the program.
And they're
Renee,
probably listening to this program.
I wasn't gonna say it, but I was thinking it. Robin saying, okay, she found the rest of the regular crew. Okay, good, Robin. We're glad you are where you need to be. Margaret saying, ooh, the closest that I got to the scene of a crime was the Biograph Theater
Yep.
in Chicago, where the lady in red betrayed John Dillinger to the FBI. Time travel ideas here. Ooh, Margaret, we're
Yes,
waiting for that book.
absolutely.
Renee saying, I met one guy that opened a health food store. I asked him many times what he used to do, and his answer was always nothing interesting or nothing exciting. I think he might have been in the witness protection program, indeed, or perhaps the mafia, or both, Renee. Totally. Robin saying maybe he was in the military, CIA, did jail time. I was thinking about jail
There
time
you
too. Oh
go.
my
There you
goodness, we
go.
got a bunch of. See, this is why we love our Mavens group, because
Mhm.
now our imaginations are just running wild. Oh my God, I love it.
Well, when I was in Miami, I went to the Versace house. So, you want to see where
Ooh,
Andrew Cunanan did his thing. But the first time I came to Los Angeles was probably 1975 to visit a friend of mine. Got in late at night. Make a long story short, the next morning, he said, so it's your first day in LA. What do you want to do? I said, do you know where Benedict Canyon is? And he said, of course. I said, take me there. He said, why? I said, just take me there. So we got to, he said, where are we going? I said, just drive down here and I'll tell you where to turn. I said, turn right here. And we go up this road and it dead ends into a chain link fence. And he said, where are we? I said, Sharon Tate was murdered right there. I said, Frykowski and Folger were out here. Stephen Parent was sitting in a car right there. And I said, he said, oh my God. I said, I had to see it. I had to know this was real because I read Helter Skelter and it absolutely blew me away because I grew up where we never locked our doors ever. We didn't have a key to the house growing up, in Alabama. And I started locking my apartment after Helter Skelter came out. I just
yeah.
never worried about it,
Yeah. Oh my
but
God.
I
Yeah.
had to see it. So yeah, things like that.
You had to see it.
But then he said, "Well, let's go down. We'll go to Nate and Al's and have some lunch." And you sometimes see movie stars there. So we walk up, and I'm reaching to open the door to Nate and Al's, and the door opens, and Doris Day steps out. It's my first day in L.A. The Sharon Tate murders and Doris Day.
That's a big day for
My
you, Lyle.
life was complete
That's a
right
big
there.
day for you, Dr. Lyle. Oh my goodness. Renee saying, well, she's not in the program and she does live in Florida. Well, Renee, you have to start being more mysterious. You have to start telling people, oh, nothing interesting, nothing exciting. Wink.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
You
my
can
God,
play
I
the
love
role.
it. She says, but we do have great imaginations. Exactly. That's why it's
Yes,
so funny.
yes.
Oh my gosh. Doug, yeah, Doug noticed at the Raiders conferences people wanted to ask about forensics. Dun dun dun. Robin says, well, you are kind of sketchy though. I think she's talking to you, Doug. She could be talking to me.
She
I
couldn't
don't
be
know.
talking about me. It must be you. Yeah. Cat
Oh my God.
fight, cat fight. No.
Exactly. Helter Skelter. Oh my God, that one was a
Yes.
crazy one, right?
Yeah, it was.
Y'all, the book drops tomorrow and you can get it as well as all of Doug's books. If you're interested in forensics, his backlist is Jake Longley's series, his Kanan Harper series. Everything is available from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, a Murder by the Book. So here is that link for DP Lyle. We are out of time. Time flies when you're having this much fun. Y'all, thank you for oh my goodness, we have some some more comments. We have some more comments coming. Margaret saying, oof, I can't even handle the song Helter Skelter. Oh my gosh. But I do love the Rolling Stones, Margaret. She said, but I stayed in a hotel close to the Versace house when I was in Miami for a work conference. Thank you for all the hearts on Facebook. For a work conference back when it was much more recent news. Ooh, that is interesting, Margaret. Oh, okay. Robin, Renee, you're the sketchy one. Oh, right. Because you're not in the witness protection program, but you are in Florida, or are you? We don't know. I love it. Well, we are. Oh, Randy's saying he still loves your amplifiers. He was talking about that last time you were on.
Yep.
That's right.
Cool.
Randy's your fellow music man. Y'all, we are out of time. Time flies when you're having this much fun. So go get yourselves a snack, get a drink. I'll be back at the top of the hour with New York Times bestselling author Danielle Trussoni in book 2 in her Puzzle Master series, The Puzzle Box. Stay tuned. Dr. Doug Lyle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And always a pleasure to host you. And happy Pub Day tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all, that's a wrap.